Hey everybody, JJ here, Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. Welcome back. It is still Wednesday, March 11th. Saying still because I put out a report earlier today. And in that report we talked about the stimulus package. Is it going to help? Is it going to stop the bleeding or the bloodbath that's happening right now? We'll take a look at the end of the day numbers. Dow Jones stocks absolutely slaughtered today. The Dow Jones down almost 6%, NASDAQ over 4%, as well as the S&P. Gold absolutely slaughtered. It started the day with almost a 1% gain and then dived towards the end of the day. One of the biggest sell-offs I've seen here recently in gold, considering the high of the day down to the low at the end of the day. So here's what we got on tap today. The stock market collapses again, of course. We talked about that. We'll get into that further. When will it end? Will there be a stimulus bump? And is this channel, Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust, the most accurate financial channel on YouTube? We're going to talk about all that. Now also real quick before we get started, to my Patreons, I did a upload today, just kind of a short one. Just touching on a few points while I was waiting for to pick up somebody in the car there. If you're not a patron, feel free to go over there and you help support the channel for as little as $1 a month. And some people say, well, it's only $1, I don't want to do that. Every dollar I really appreciate, guys, because it only takes 17 or 20 people a month. It's about what I have now to buy an ounce of silver. So I go out and buy these ounces of silver every month. Every dollar counts. Thank you. If you want to donate more, that's awesome too. But head on over there. I'll put a link down below if you're interested. Let's talk about the insanity and the madness. And yes, it is madness. Right? How insane is this, everybody? No fans at the basketball games. Now, they also presented this to the NBA, and a lot of players said they did not want to play without fans' attendance, even though I'm sure they had some sort of contract that they had to sign that they'll have to play no matter what. So the TV audience only, a lot of players don't like that because the cheering and the motivation that you get from the crowd. So just insane, historical, crazy times that we're in right now. This outbreak shows no sign of letting up. And we are officially in bear territory because we're down 20% now from last month's record close. Now, I don't think anyone here really needed the actual 20% number to tell us that there were problems, that we're headed towards bear territory. Right now, next bullet point, watch for the stimulus bump. When will it end? Well, if this pandemic, this outbreak does not start subsiding, then yes, this could be the beginning of the economic collapse. Now, this Black Swan event, of course, was not something that anyone saw, and I watch hundreds of YouTube videos every week on the economy and financial analysts and whatnot. A year ago, no one had predicted this. This is a Black Swan event. It came out of nowhere. And that leads us to this next point. Is this the most accurate financial channel on YouTube? Well, from what I've seen, we are, and I'm not bragging. But then again, I don't watch all channels, right? There could be channels out there that are more accurate than this one. But we told you exactly what to expect coming into 2020. We said it's going to be a wild year. I've been saying for over a year, look out for Black Swan events because they're going to need an excuse to bring this market down. Go back and watch the videos. I must have said that, I'd say 50 times over the past year. Now we're going to look at a couple comments in a minute. A couple people have said, hey JJ, you said the Dow Jones was going to 30,000. But yes, in every episode though, what did I say? I said, but anything can happen. I say, don't take investment advice because a Black Swan could fly out of anywhere. And that's exactly what happened. So we were 100% on point. And even with that, the Dow Jones just about hit 30,000. It got up to 29.6. And then look what else would happen. I predicted they're going to use an event. They never let an event go to waste. Or what's the saying? They never let a good crisis go to waste. They're going to use this to announce new stimulus, lower interest rates, more QE and so forth. And look what's happening. We've got this announcement coming out tonight. We're going to report on that tomorrow. We don't know if it's going to be mostly bailouts. It could be a combination of bailouts, stimulus towards the middle class, including tax cuts. Again, it could be out there right now as we're recording this. We'll touch on it tomorrow. Right? And I haven't seen, and of course I haven't seen all YouTube channels. There could be channels out there more accurate. But me, what I've watched out of all the people, even people that claim to be, quote, stock market experts or traders, did not call this any more accurately than I did. And I've gotten quite a few private messages saying thank you. You warned me of what's going to happen, the bear market, to look out for it. Some people say that I saved them a lot of money, especially the people that moved their 401ks into money markets before all this came down. Now, of course, the private messages I don't want to share because people probably made them private for a reason. But let's go over just a couple public comments, some negative actually, so I'm not afraid to address negative comments or questions. Also, as far as accuracy and predictions, what have I been saying on this channel for a long time? That I am in gold and silver, both physical, and I invest in the miners, and look what gold has done just over the past year. So another accurate call there. Of course, there's a lot of channels that also reported on gold, but overall, I mean, I think I'm one of the most accurate channels on YouTube, the most accurate channels that I've seen out of all the people. Right, I've seen many channels predicting a recession and an economic crash for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, even more. Right, I don't consider that accurate. Right, anyone can sit here and say there's going to be an economic collapse, and eventually they'll be right. Right, but we predicted the record high on the stock market. We predicted that they'll lower interest rates and likely go to zero. That's happening. It's going to be announced very soon, most likely at the next meeting. We announced more bailouts, more stimulus, and I think the banks are going to be in the very near future as well. We'll see if that's going to be correct. I think it will be. So let's start with this comment right here, kind of a negative one, right? Dan North Tampa says, still buying stocks, JJ, LOL. Dan the man. I've been out of the stock market for over 2 years, and what I mean by that is my 401k. Now, I do have a trading account now, but I'm mostly in ETFs and put options right now, and also some calls depending on the direction of the market. And as we talked about before, gold miner stock, doing pretty well over the past year, not so good just the past month or so, but overall over the past year, up very big. So sounds like you haven't been on the channel that long. I was out of the stock market over 2 years ago. Now, those of you that have been on the channel, remember I was ridiculed by a lot of people for getting out of the market and, quote, missing out on all the gains. And one thing that I've always said is I'd rather be out a year or two early than a minute too late, because look at all the people that have taken a big haircut, 20% now in some cases, depending on how their 401k and retirement accounts and IRAs were allocated. So no, it sounds like you haven't been on the channel, been out of stocks for a long time. Yes, I still trade, but good question, even though it was a little sarcastic there. I appreciate it. Here's one from a while back. It says 10 hours ago, but that's just when I took the screenshot. It was the day that it was posted. And this individual, Alexander Dugaman, was on the same page as me. We said this the day of the big drop when the panic began. The Fed will use this scare to justify the market crash. Now they'll let it all go on its own. Also, very good comment. We were on the same page. Right, here's one right here out of Evan. Evan So, he says, don't trash credit cards since they offer a free loan if repaid in 30 days. Banks won't give you that. Plus, you get 1% rewards back each year. I totally agree. I do not trash actual credit cards themselves. I trash the people. Well, trash is kind of a strong word. I discourage people from swiping endlessly and running up debt that they can't pay back. Paying off a card in full every month is absolutely perfect. Of course, I still don't encourage reckless spending, even if you are paying it off every month. But yeah, buy your necessities, pay as many utilities as you can on the credit card, get the cashback rewards. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Costco card with the rewards. I think you get 4% back on all gas purchases and 2% on all store items. Very cool. Yeah, definitely not bashing credit cards at all. If used wisely, you can actually make money in the cashback. Next up, Daniel C. He is saying, he's telling me here, quit trying to be a fortune teller and just report the news. Your predictions are mostly inaccurate and irresponsible. I appreciate the feedback there, but actually we're one of the most accurate channels on YouTube. You have to listen very carefully, right? I would give us an accuracy rating of about 99% here. And remember, like we talked about at the beginning, we've predicted things here on this channel that many channels never even touched on. And for a while, and if you've been here for even a year or so, you know that a lot of times this channel was called a doom and gloom channel for saying that the stock market was in a bubble, that it could come down, that it only takes one domino to set this off, one event, and look what happened. I'd say that's pretty accurate. Now, if you've just heard 1 or 2 episodes where I didn't talk about that, maybe you thought that I missed out on something, but I think the people that have been on this channel for a while, know that this is a very accurate channel. Right, and also as far as fortune telling, and I think I replied to this, fortune telling, aka trying to predict the future, aka planning ahead. If you're a trader or an investor, you are planning ahead. You're trying to predict the future, right? So when you buy a stock, you are predicting that that stock's going to go up. If you're short selling a stock, you're trying to predict the future, trying to see if that stock's going to go down. So if you're an investor, you are trying to be a fortune teller, you are trying to look into the future. Maybe Dan's not an investor, I don't know. Okay, next up, Mary Ratliff. This was a comment to a housing episode where I said the housing market would not likely come down in 2020. And what I mean by coming down is home prices. And I said because they're going to prop the market up, they're going to offer lower mortgage rates, stimulus packages, they're going to loosen the lending on the banks. So she goes, there's no way the housing market won't be affected by the SHIT storm coming. That is some wishful thinking. Italy just suspended mortgage payments. Now it's interesting that she put that in there because the episode that she was responding to, I actually talked about how Italy suspended mortgage payments, and I also talked about how the USA could do that. I'm not saying they will, but what I'm saying is there's many ways they can prop up markets. I think a lot of people underestimate the manipulation. Right, the same people that said the Dow Jones couldn't go to 28, 29, or 30,000, also have been the ones over the past few years saying that the housing market's going to crash. And that's another thing on this channel. We've been saying the housing market's going to get stronger because of all those aforementioned actions that are happening. The loosening of the lending, the underwriting guidelines, the reserve ratios are being looked at as the next thing to help the banks lend out more money that they don't have, rate cuts. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they suspended mortgage payments. Look what they're already talking about. They're already talking about in the stimulus package coming up here, sick time for all people because of the pandemic outbreak that we're seeing. So we'll see who's right, Mary. Appreciate your comment nonetheless, even though it disagrees. Right, and also back to Daniel C's comment here. He says, just report the news. Oh, come on, you guys don't want that. You guys can go over to CNBC and just read the news. You guys want in-depth analysis. And if you've been on this channel, you have been prepared for the bear. What is happening right now is no surprise to you, and many of you have even profited from this. So let me know what you think down below. Am I over-exaggerating? Am I propagandizing here in this episode? You let me know, but either way, thanks for watching. I appreciate your comments, both positive, negative. Thank you for being here. Bye for now, everybody.